Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to remove chat from League of Legends. The intended purpose of the chat is for communication with the team, but aside from ping history, it isn't really used for that purpose by most people. The in-game solution provided by Riot to deal with people misusing the chat is the mute all feature. However, you have to do this at the beginning of every game, and it doesn't prevent you from interacting with the chat, even though you can't read what anybody else is saying. If you're somebody who doesn't have great self-control, you'll still be vulnerable to Riot's rather strict negativity detection system, because people will always find a reason to report you. And if your choice of words irks that system even in the slightest, you'll probably get some form of discipline on your account. The only use that chat has left at this point is echoing pings. Like when somebody pings enemy missing or bounty value or one of your items, which people like to spam ping when they don't like something you're building. It'll appear in the chat as text with a timestamp. But this feature was only added recently, so most of us have spent years without it anyway, keeping track of cooldowns and following information on the scoreboard and hopefully the map, so it's not really missed that much. You can still communicate using pings without chat, and for most part, this works better than anything you can do in chat. I'm sure we've all found that typing paragraphs in chat, even when you type as fast as I do, doesn't really accomplish anything. A lot of people don't even really read it. Or if they do read it, they usually use that time to come up with an excuse as to why they're right and you're wrong. So I've determined that it's best to just straight up remove the chat from League of Legends to protect myself and teammates from misuse of the chat, and to protect my account from any chat related punishments that might fall my way. It's a win-win-win scenario. So as you can see, I'm going to demonstrate this by completely fresh installing this game. I've recently uninstalled so I could actually show you guys this. So you can follow along from a fresh installation yourself, or that way you don't have to worry about any special changes that I might make to my configuration that you probably don't have. As you can see, I've actually managed to bug splat in the middle of installation, which is actually kind of funny. I've noticed the last two patches I've been plagued with bug splats for some reason, constantly crashing in the middle of the game or on load. For some reason I've found that running out of memory tends to be a cause of that, even though usually I end up having like 2 gigs, 3 gigs free. I use a lot of tabs in Firefox, so it uses a lot of RAM. So now that it's done, we're in the client here, and I've actually already set up my configuration, sort of. I've set up my hotkeys at least. Now, if you've already got yours set up and you're doing a fresh installation, it'll probably preload these from the server-side settings. It's a feature they added in what was it, late 2015, I think, maybe 2016ish. I don't know. I don't remember. So those will already all be set, but I wanted to set them from the beginning just so I could show you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get into a custom game here. That way you can see what League is usually supposed to be like right out of the get-go. Even after you, well, of course after you set your hotkeys. So here we are in game, and as you can see, the chat's down here. I can press enter. Let me type something in here. Something. I'm typing with one hand because I'm holding a mic in my other hand. I don't really have a mic stand. I need to get one. So we can look around the map, and the chat's always going to be there. Now my chat scaling is a bit different. I guess it must have loaded that, and I forgot to change it. Oh well. I forgot you can go to it. Anyway. So that's what it's supposed to look like out of the gate. Chat will always appear when somebody types something. It'll make it appear again. If after a while, it'll disappear. We all know how it works, unless of course you're literally new and you're watching this video right after making your account. Which, hey man, if you're this early into League of Legends and you already want to delete chat, hey man, props to you, man. Okay, so let's get out of here, and I'll show you how to actually do it. Okay, so you're gonna want to find the Riot Games folder. Go into League, go into Config folder, and then it's these two files. Game, there we go. Okay, so it's these two files here. These are the ones that you're going to want to change the details in. The persisted settings, that's the one that syncs up with the server. So the server will actually overwrite this every single time with whatever settings you set. Or if this file doesn't exist, it'll try to override it with the file it has on the server. That way it's always in sync and it's pretty much seamless with your account for the most part. This will change varying on your account. I know a lot of you have multiple accounts. I do. This is my second account. But the way this is set up, if you set these two files as read-only, it'll not sync up with the server-side settings. It'll not be overwritten by that. It'll actually overwrite the settings file on the server with that account. So when you log into a second account after setting all these settings, it'll actually add the settings that you saved in here before you mark read-only onto your other account as well. That way this is completely seamless still. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open these up here. And I like to use Notepad++. You probably could use this in regular Notepad, but this just makes things easier for me. So we're going to look at the game config file first here. A lot of these are all the different settings that you can actually toggle. A lot of these settings are accessible inside the actual game. Some of them aren't, or well, aren't directly manipulatable. For example, if we go down here, there's what we're looking for. So this is the settings for the chat. Now by default they're set to 0, and this is the X and Y coordinates on the screen. So whenever you drag the chat box around the screen, these values change. So what we're going to actually want to do is we're going to change these values to -1000. So if they're both set to -1000, they're actually not going to appear on the screen. The chat's not going to appear on the screen at all. You won't be able to drag it in because it just won't be on screen. It'll be off screen. Even if you set the resolution pretty high, it'll still be too far off the screen because it's going to go down this way. If you also want to, in this file here, minimap scale. So minimap scale, as you all know, max is 100, minimum is 0. Well, you can actually go above that. So if you change this decimal value above, or you change the value manually above here, it'll actually change that. So 1.5 is 150. That's what I usually play at. I might change later. You can even set it to something ridiculous like 300. It's going to fill up the entire screen. You won't be able to exit the game. It's kind of ridiculous. So I would recommend just using very nice value like 1.5 here. We're getting off track here. The other file you want to look at is the persisted settings file. And this will have the same kind of values. Luckily, they put them right at the top for us, so we could change these to 1000. -1000, I mean. And that will make the chat go off the screen. Transparency doesn't do anything anymore. If you want, you can also change the minimap scale here. There's a lot of details here. A lot of this is related to like hotkeys and all that. But minimap is going to be right here, minimap scale. If you want, you could just search for minimap scale and it'll pop up. Change this to 1.5 as well. That's me. That's what I use at least. There's one more step that we actually have to do. So you won't actually be able to change the key binding for opening the chat, hitting enter and actually being able to type things. So you won't be able to do anything with that. So after we save these, first I'm going to mark them as read only. That way they're not overwritten by the server and they actually overwrite the server itself related to your account. So those won't be changed. Those are locked in. If you want to change something on them later, make sure you uncheck read only and then recheck it once you're done. So there is one more step that we actually have to do. So if we get in the game here, the chat won't be visible on the screen, but we'll still be able to type in it. That is not going to completely remove the chat from the game. So there is one more step to make sure that the chat essentially doesn't exist, and that is we're going to install AutoHotkey. Now, this isn't the latest version of it. This is an old version from last year, but I do know that at least this one works. So if it stops working in later versions, you go back to 1.1.26. All the links for these are going to be in the description for you. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to just do an express installation, and then make sure we run it. So this is just the help. So AutoHotkey should run on startup, but there is one more thing that we actually have to do for AutoHotkey. So anywhere that you want on your computer, if you want, I usually just do it on the root drive here. So I already have a file. We're going to create a file just like this one. So we're going to open a notepad file here, and all you need to do is copy this text and put it in here. The formatting is kind of specific, so I'm actually going to have a download link for this file. It's probably going to be a paste bin or something, but it's just this text that you need. So we're going to save this. I'm going to save it on the C drive here. Now I originally named it unbind. Oh, make sure you change the file extension here to all files. I normally name it unbind enter lol, but I'm just going to name it del chat for the purposes of this video, if I can actually type. And then this is the important part, .ahk, AutoHotkey. And make sure that you actually have permissions. I screwed that up, so I'm going to actually redo this real quick. You're going to have to, what you can do is go into Task Manager, File, Run New Task, check this box, and type in Notepad. That way it'll run Notepad as an administrator for you. So, oops, paste that, and then we're going to save it. Change this down to here so you can set your own file extension. That's very important because if it's a .txt file, you cannot run it in AutoHotkey. Del chat.ahk, and we saved it. Okay, we can close that. So when we run this file, let me see if I can find it. There it is. You'll actually be able to double click this file, and now it's in the memory for AutoHotkey. There is one more step that you want to do if you don't want to actually open up this folder all the time and run this file. If you hit Windows key R, it'll pull up the run dialog, and then you type in shell : startup. Actually, I already done it before. Add a shortcut to this file in here. I've already done it with this. So every time Windows actually starts up, it'll run this file before you even get to open the League client. So this will take an effect every single time you start up your computer before you open your League client and get to a game, so you don't have to actually do anything with that. You don't have to do anything and potentially forget to do something like typing /mute all in chat before you actually start playing. Okay, so this next step is very important. Once you set up this file here and run it, you're actually going to have to restart your client. If you don't restart your client, the AutoHotkey won't actually work, so you'll still be able to actually hit enter and interact with the chat. Let me just open League back up here. And I'm going to log in here to my second account because I already had it typed in for us. And we're going to go ahead and load up into a custom game so I can show you that the chat will not be accessible anymore. Now, it is important to note, this is a macroing system, but this use case is not bannable because we're disabling a key. We're not actually macroing multiple keys together so they hit at the same time. We're actually just straight up disabling a key, especially a key that's not actually used for gameplay. It's just used for communication anyway. So Riot is perfectly comfortable with this. They've actually said in the past when people have asked, this is actually completely safe, not bannable 100%. I've used this on multiple accounts for quite a while. So as you can see, we're going to get into a game, and I'm going to level up an ability. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to press Q. And as you can see, it did not take control away from my abilities to open up the chat, so I cannot access chat. I'm going to do the same thing with Flash. Enter D. And I can still flash, so the chat's essentially removed from the game here. Now, unfortunately, you'll still be able to actually hear messages sent through the chat. I cannot find a way to actually get rid of that. you probably be able to do that by disabling or removing the actual sound effect, but I'm not going to mess with trying to figure that out at all. It sounds like it's going to take too much work and probably won't even work then. So if you actually turn down your sound effects a little bit, you won't actually be able to notice it as much in game unless you're actually looking for it. Yeah, so chat's basically gone from the game. You can still access any of the commands used in chat. Usually, if you want to FF, hit the surrender button here. Pings. You won't be able to see. You won't be able to see the pings show up in chat, which is one of the downsides to doing this. But hey, if you've been playing for as long as I have, or even for longer than the last 2 years, maybe, that really won't make a difference at all. Because most people, we keep tracking the tab, or we actually use our eyes and try to remember people's actual cooldowns or where people actually are. Trust me, it's better for you. So I hope you guys have learned something. I hope you'll be able to actually use this in your games. I hope this will actually help a lot of you. This has helped me dramatically over the years. Check the description for all the downloads for everything. You'll get access to config that I actually use for that auto hotkey. So yeah, I hope this helped you guys. If you know somebody that could benefit from this, make sure you share this video with them. Hopefully they'll find this to actually be useful. I hope I didn't ramble too much, and I hope it didn't take too long to actually explain it all. So thanks. I mean, you can subscribe if you want. I don't really produce very many videos. If you look at my channel, I don't have very much there. I try to help here and there if I can. If there's something that I don't believe everybody's aware of, I'll try to get the word out there. So help spread that word. Help spread the ability to delete chat from the game to actually make it a better place. Have a good day, y'all. Enjoy your games and keep them toxic free and keep your account in check. It's safe, you know?